Okay, so we're going to be building the voting app, and what we are going to focus on is the logic that will decide if you are eligible to vote or not. We are going to make the logic more advanced using mainly mostly array methods. We have been taught arrays, so we are going to leverage on that. So I've created my index.html, and I'm also going to create my index.js. And like I said, we are still starting from the basis. So we are going to link our index.html to our HTML, our index.js to our HTML. So we link it at the bottom of our body. So script, and we take source. So in this source, we now put our index.html.js, index.js. So this is, we have linked it. So let's check to see if it's linked. Console.log. Checking. Okay, I just want to check if it's linked. So I'm going to open my HTML in browser. Okay, and I'm going to go to my console, because I'm console.login. I'm expecting to see something on my console. So this is my console. Checking. This is what I typed, so it's there. If I wanted to see it on my browser when testing, I can do document.write, and now we write what we want to see on our browser. Good job. So this document.write, you should only use it for production. You should only use it for for testing, not for production. So if you check, this is good job, it's on your browser, but never use it when you are coding a real code, just for testing. And I don't even advise it. It's better I use console.log. It has so many drawbacks. So this is linked. Now what we want to do is, let's assume we're going to change the format of our cohort of our pass code now, so that our app will easily understand it. Our pass code will be in the form cohort. Let me comment it. Our passcode, let me write it here. Our pass code will be in the form cohort 11 dash, then that code at the back, maybe 1 2 3 4 5, for example. So your cohort will be there first, then dash, then a random number. Now our system is going to first of all make sure that this password matches this format of cohort 11 or cohort X, cohort anything, cohort 19, cohort 13, cohort 21, and a dash, and also
Mr. Mayor,
a
sorry
random
to
character.
interrupt. We are getting feedback that they can't see. Can you increase your screen?
Okay, it's small.
Is that possible from your end?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's fine now. So our cohort,
Okay.
our passcode must be in this format. So let me just say or let's say cohort, I like cohort 13, I don't know why. Cohort 13, and maybe 2 3, this should be 5 characters. This must start with a cohort, and this also must have a number here to identify the cohort's number. So let's start. before you start coding any programming language, before you start writing any program, it's always good to know what you want to do, and you write them down in pseudocode. Pseudocode is just like English like words. It's not really English, but it looks like English. So first of all, you have to know what you want to do. So you can write that as comments. Firstly, prompt, we will get it as prompts first. Prompt, I don't want us to go into inputs. Let's do with prompts first. When we understand prompts very well, then we can go into input. Prompt user to enter the passcode. Secondly, if the user enters the passcode, for example, the user enters this, how does our system know that this passcode belongs to a cohort or even belongs to obedient tech, that is of this format? How do we know? First of all, if the user enters the passcode, what if the user enters something like, before the user enters the passcode, he enters space or enters a space and puts cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5. This is correct, but because of the space, the system will say it's not correct because of the space. So we have to find a way to curtail this. Even if there's a space here and also there's a space after this, our system should still say okay, it is correct. Our system should find a way to eliminate these spaces, because these spaces actually do not matter. So if the system, firstly, if the system prompts our user to put the passcode, the user will put the passcode, and next we trim the user input. Okay, trim user input simply means if your user input is, let's say, forget about all these things coming up. I've been using it's giving me suggestion. I've been using it for long. Let's say you get a user input like user, let's say const user input, const user input equal, I think all of us know this const. It's just a constant variable, equal enter passcode. Now if you enter passcode, what should you do with the passcode? We trim it. Trimming it means you remove the spaces before it and the spaces after it, just like what I explained before. So we can say when the user enters the passcode, you can now say const passcode equal user input dot trim. User input dot trim actually says this user inputs now. Trim it. Trim it means remove the trailing white spaces before and after. So I want to do something. I want to console.log the user input before trimming and after trimming. No, before trimming, which is just user input, and also after we trim, I want to now console.log so that we can see what's happening. Console.log passcode. Okay, let me write something friendly so that we can understand it. Okay, so I want to write input has been trimmed. Let me leave it like this. Then the input will be here. Console.log. Let me write something also here. I'm trying to make the message friendly so that we understand. Input has not been trimmed, and the input here. Okay, I'm going to run this now. So it has asked us to enter passcode. Now if I enter space space, then 1 2 3 4 5, for example, then space space space, and press OK. Look at these two results. Input has not been trimmed. See the spaces. He has some spaces here, and also it should have here too. And this one now, input has been trimmed. It doesn't have any space here. If you look at it, it doesn't have all of these spaces here, because the dot trim method is like, it's an array method, it's a string method. It removes trailing spaces after and before your input, or before any word you want to trim. So that is important for us to know. I want to make this thing a little bit smaller. It's too big. Okay, now we are going to use this same method to get our input. We are not going to change this code. So we have gotten the input, which is this, then we trim it to remove trailing spaces. The user may make an error and put spaces before or after. That one no concern us. We still need to work. So we've gotten the passcode here after trimming to give us this. Now remember, our input, what the user input is of this form. So let's just assume the user has input something like this. How do we now check to see that this input, this passcode the user has put, actually coincides to one of the passcodes we have in our system? So our system now, this our program, our code we are writing now, will program it such that you first of all check this. If it starts with this, followed by the cohort number, and now followed by a dash, and also followed by 5 random digits. That's what we are going to do. So we are going to remember, we are checking. So if when you are checking, you want to compare if this, I'm not using this again, I want to forget about this and use this, because I've trimmed this one to remove the spaces. It has given me this because I've assigned it to this. So I'm now working with this. So I'm assuming that this is the correct form of this that has been entered. So I'll say if the user does, if user input contains this first, then contains this second, and a dash, then this random, then it is part of our input. Hello, are we following? Hello?
Yes, they are following. They are giving their thumbs up. They're following.
Okay, sorry, I can't see thumbs up. Okay, so we have gotten this now. We just did array. We just finished array yesterday. We are going to use an array method. There are so many array methods that will ease your life. We are going to use an array method to split this thing now into 2 parts, and we are splitting it. We are saying, okay, our array, anywhere you see a dash, then divide it into 2, store it as an array. So the user may enter a string like this. What we are going to do is const, let's call it let's just call it cohort passcode equal, you know, this is a string, and strings act like arrays. Anything you can do it to an array, you can do to a string. If you want to read this P, after P you read A, just like we did the array square brackets and 0 1 2 3, all those things, you can still do it to a string just like this. So we can still use this as an array. This we are dealing on this now. Cohort pass code can be equal to pass code dot split. We are trying to split it, and we are splitting it by this. We are splitting it by this. That means anywhere it sees, remember this is our user input. So we are splitting that user input, which is passcode dot split. Anywhere it sees this, it should divide it into two. Okay, let me show you how it comes out now. Console.log cohort passcode. I'm consoling the log cohort passcode because after splitting the user input, you should assign it to this cohort passcode. So let's now console the log cohort passcode and see what it looks like. I'll save. I'll enter something like cohort 22 dash 1 2 3 4 5 and take enter. Now see what happens to our console. Remember, this is the one we printed before to say input has not been trimmed. I don't know, let me zoom my browser too. Browser no dey zoom. I think I cannot zoom console.log. I cannot zoom my console. Anyways, we manage the stuff like this. Okay, it zooms. Okay, this is the one we printed before to say input has not been trimmed. It's still there, and this is the input. You can see it here. Now input has been trimmed. This is it. Now this input has not been, if it has spaces here and spaces here, it will trim it for us and remove the spaces. Now the last one we wrote was console.log cohort passphrase. And what is cohort passphrase? Cohort passphrase is the password dot split, and it's splitting by dash, the minus sign, because that's it's going to check if it has the minus sign. Then it will divide it into two. Anywhere it sees minus sign, it will divide it and use one part for an array and the other part to the next array index. So let me show you what I'm talking about. See what happens. Let me refresh this page again, and let me just put anything like 1 minus 2. Okay, see what happens. 1 2 dot split. Anywhere it sees that minus I put there, I can change this dot split to, maybe it should split by a comma, or let's say it splits by a, and save. Once I do this, that means I'm saying if my input is, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 and a, then 6 7 8 9 and 0, it's going to split this into two, and the splitting will take place at this a. That's anyway it sees a, it will just split it. And when it's splitting, it's assigning it as array elements. So if I take OK here, look at what happens. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5. Then the a was supposed to be somewhere. He removes the a and puts this as an individual array element, and now puts the remaining part as array element. So if I still come here and run it again, sorry, 1 2 3, I put an a, 4 5 6 7, I put an a, 8 9 and 0. Anywhere it sees a, look at what's happening. So this is one very good array method we are going to utilize now to do what we want to do. So by the way, I'm splitting with a dash because we are looking at this format. Okay, I wanted to save. So I've console.log this, and we have seen what is happening. So let me input something again so that we see what we have as input. I'm putting cohort 11 because I'm in cohort 11, a dash, and 1 2 3 4 5, for example. We have not yet handled this condition to make sure it is in this form. We are getting to it. If I take OK, see what happens in my console.log. It's now splitted into this and this. And now we know with arrays that this first element is the index 0 and this one is the index 1. If this first element you are seeing here is the index 0, why this is the index 1? So let's start with this index 0 to make sure it conforms to a valid cohort number. That's this first part of it. We are trying to analyze this passcode. So we are going to use an if condition to say if cohort, I don't want to be using this. If cohort, I don't want to be using this thing. I've been using it a lot. Passcode 0. Remember, we are dealing with cohort passcode 0. Why do I say that? We come to our console. You know that this is 0 and this is 1, and all these belong to cohort passcode. So to get this element is cohort passcode, and in square bracket 0 will give you this. Cohort passcode in square bracket 1 will give you this. Array elements, to print array elements, remember you always start from 0. This is the 0 element, 1, and if there's another one, 2. Arrays start from 0. So if this cohort passcode 0, which is cohort 11 in our case, dot, remember yesterday we did dot slice, dot splice, dot map. Those are array methods. There are so many of them and it can always help you a lot. So if cohort passcode 0, I'm referring to that after splitting. I'm referring to that cohort 11. After splitting, I'm referring to this cohort 11 because when you split, this is the 0 and this is the 1, because there are only 2 elements after splitting. This becomes the 0, this becomes the 1. Dot if cohort passcode dot 0, if cohort passcode, if cohort passcode 0 includes, that's to say if it has, in English, includes cohort, I can put it in cohort. That's if cohort passcode includes cohort. You know, remember we are dealing on this only now for as cohort passcode 0. If it includes cohort, this cohort now, that's if you can find cohorts in it. You understand? If you can find cohorts in it, and we did logical operators. We did logical operators. This is and, this is or. This is or. So I'm going to say if cohort passcode 0 includes cohort, that if cohort is in that cohort passcode 0, and you know we are not going to compare only one thing. We are going to compare this and also check this, and also we check this if it's actually 5. So first of all, we are checking that this is in this element, is in this array element. Remember we have splitted it and it now forms 2 different array elements, this and this. So we are checking this array element to say if this contains cohort, and what can we check again? If this is up to 5, that if the length of it, you know that to count array element is good to just use the length. If this is up to 5, that's if somebody's passcode is cohort 11-1234, it's not going to work. It must be 5 digits. So and cohort, remember this other, what am I doing? This other part of it, this part now, this part is cohort passcode 1, while this one is cohort passcode 0, just like we did here. You can also see it here if you forget. This is cohort passcode 0 and cohort passcode 1. If there's another element here, it will be cohort passcode 2. So if cohort passcode 0 dot includes this, that if that element has this, and we are checking this one now, cohort passcode 1 and cohort passcode 1 dot length equal to 5, something should happen. Equal to 5. When you are dealing with JavaScript, you use 3 equal to compare explicitly without the type. For example, let me show you a good example so that you know why we use 3 equal to. Let me first of all close this so that we don't keep having errors. Okay, I think I have to have 2 here because I want to close this so that we don't have errors. This, close this. Remove this. Okay, it's fine now. With cohort password, okay, we just need to have matching brackets, so it's okay. Okay, let me save this, and I want to comment this. Like I said, this tutorial is, we are trying to do the project and we are still learning. Let's learn about this type of equal to. I'm going to comment this so that we know when to use it. Now, let x equal to 5 and let y equal to string as 5. Now, can somebody tell me, are these two values equal? These two values now, are they equal? Do you think they're equal? Somebody should unmute and say something.
Yes.
Okay, if you say they are equal, that depends on how you want to compare them. For example, I compare these two.
They are not equal.
Okay, it still depends on how you want to compare them. I'm using this 3 equal to now. This will compare, you know, these two things. This one is an integer, it is a number, and this one is a string. So if you use 3 equal to like this, it's going to compare them and also compare their types if they have equal types. Like I said, this type is an integer, which is a number, and this type is a string. So if we are comparing the types, are the types equal? The types are not equal. If you want to check, we can console dot log type of x, and also console dot log type of y. And come here to say maybe a string and a comma. If you want to always, anytime you want to put a text before what you want, before the variable you want to print, you can put it in this way, in quotes, then comma. The type of x is, and we do the same thing here. The type of y is, okay. Now I've saved that. If I don't, let me put something here so that, okay. Something is still coming up. Let me see. Let's save this. Okay, I've saved now properly. Now, type of x is number, type of y is string. So we can see that these two things are not equal. If we are using type to compare them, if we are comparing them with their type, they are not equal. So if I uncomment this and we are using 3 equal to, just assume that one of these equal to the last one compares the type. So if I add it, it's going to tell you it is not equal. Console.log this x equal to, the answer will be false because it's not equal. The answer will be false. So if I check the console.log, it's going to tell us false. Now if I come back here and use 2 equal to, it's going to compare them, but it's not going to compare their type. This one is a string, this one is a number, but it's going to know both of them are 5 5. You understand? Both of them are 5, but it's not going to look their type, and when it checks their type, it's going to be a problem. So it's not going to check their type. So if you come to console.log, it's going to tell you true. So anytime you are using the 3 equal to or the 2 equal to, you should be mindful when you are using it. But most often people use the 3 equal to because they just want to compare everything explicitly. They don't want to say, oh, forget about this. They just want to compare. If you are not equal, you are not equal. So I advise most of the times, think before you use it. And most people always use this because normally this is not equal to this. You cannot use this one to do calculations because it's a string, except you convert it to number. So they are not just equal at all. So I'm going to remove this and I'm going to uncomment this. Okay. So if cohort passcode 0, which is this section of the code, because we divided it into 2, this section of the code includes this, that contains cohort, and cohort passcode 1, which is this section of the code, has length of 5. Like I told you, we use this to compare. Just use this to compare most often, except you are mindful, you know what you want to do, that you want to omit the type. Okay, if these conditions apply, if this has the cohort and this has length of 5, that means these conditions apply, this and this. So what will resolve inside here will be true, just like normal English. You know, if this is this and this is this, that means both of them has to apply. Both of them has to be true. It's not something like you say if this is this or this is this. That if you say or, that means one of them should be true. But in this case, we are saying both of them should be true, just like normal English. If you think about it. So if these two applies, we are still going to check something. We are still going to check if, because here we are checking if the length is 5, right? The length of this is 5. We are still going to check if, even though the length is 5, is it a number? Because, for example, let's just assume this applies. We say console.log you are welcome class and save. Now let me first of all put an else statement so that I'm going to catch any error. Else console.log you are not welcome class. Okay, I've saved that. Now let me say cohort. I'm entering my passcode, cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, now I did not, what I put here is not a number. Let's see if it's going to welcome us. You are welcome class. Why is it welcoming us when this is not a number? So you can see it has divided it for us. This is not a number, so why is it welcoming us? So we have to handle that case too. So if you are doing programming, you don't need to think about the positive always. Things are not always positive. You make it look positive, but they are not always positive. You always think about those people who want to try negative things and look for a way to handle them. So we have said if this has cohort, that's this first one has cohort, and this second one is up to 5, that's the length of it is 5, we still have to make sure that, and I want to show you the isnan. Okay, I'll show you about it. And not, this means not. I hope you know this. Not, you have the and, you have the or, which I showed you, double slash like this, and you have the not. So, and not is none. I'll talk about this is none shortly. You can see it here. And not is none. What is not a number? And not is none. This same number we are talking about. This number. Remember, we have compared the length to make sure the length is 5. I will also have to compare this same. This is a number. This number now. This number replaces this. And not is none. This same number. This same value. Now, what happens? Same condition. So let me save this. I'm going to talk about the not is none after this. Let me just show you. Let me enter the same thing we entered before. Cohort 11 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and I take okay. You can see you are not welcome to class. Now it's telling us we are not welcome. Why? Because this is not a number. It doesn't, these conditions now, all of them do not apply. This has to apply, and this and this. But now this failed because it's not a number. So now let me comment my code and we learn about let's learn about the isnan. Now let's say let name equal to John. No, let me use my name, Mayor. Let name equal to Mayor. If is none Mayor, if is none name, because now name holds the mayor. If is none name, you should console the log. If it's none name, you should console the log. Name is not a number for me. You should console the log. I don't want to use mayor. I want to use the actual variable. You should console the log. Just forget about this line I'm writing now. It's just for simplicity, but you can look at it anytime you get something like this. You understand what I'm doing. Okay. Else you should console the log to us. Name is a number. Okay, this is just what I'm going to write. Okay, now have a variable name. I'm calling the variable name, and what I'm giving to the variable is name mayor. That's the name holds mayor. Now I'm saying if is none means not a number. So is none means is not a number. Just like you say type of, you put the variable, it gives you the type. With is none is not a number. You can see not, the n, a, and number. Not a number. What is not number? Name. You understand? That's how you compare it. If is not a number, that if name is not a number, you should now console the log. Name is not a number. Why I'm putting this name here is because I want to read the name. I want it to print this. You should not come and print me this. You should print mayor, what the name holds. So for you to get what the name holds, you put it in backticks, not quote, backticks, the tick beside one. We'll learn this later. This is not a class for that, but for people want to explore. Then else, it's a condition. So if now this is a number, what should it tell me? This is a number. So now let me save this and run it. Okay, I think I already have something. Okay, you can see what it's telling me. Let me take this to the side. I think I should be coding like this. You can see what it's telling me. Major is not a number. Remember, console.log is not a number. This is not a number because I'm using if it's none. So I believe we all understand what. Okay, let me use this now as a number. Let me use 1 2 3 4 5 and I save. It's telling me 1 2 3 4 5 is a number. Hope you can see it. 1 2 3 4 5 is a number. Now let me put this 1 2 3 4 5 in quotes. What do you think this will tell me? Can somebody suggest? Can somebody say something?
It's not a number.
Okay, exactly.
It's a G string.
Is what did you say? Okay, somebody's okay. I heard the string.
He said it's G string.
Yes, this is a string.
Mayor, you will have to recap this class.
I'm recording it.
Are you guys recording?
I'm recording it.
Okay.
So this is not a number. It's a string. Actually, you can see it in quotes. It's not a number. So if I save this, it's going to tell me. Okay, it's telling me it's a number. Okay, I think it's explicitly converting it to number for us. Let me put an A here. Okay, well, at least you know how this is none works now. That's why we console.log to see the output before we know how we can manipulate it. So I have done justice to this this part of it. There is none. I can remove it. And let's uncomment our code. Okay, so I've done justice to. Please give me 10 seconds. Let me check something. Okay, I'm back. Somebody called me, so I had to attend to that person. Okay, I've uncommented my code. I save. So let's run it again and see where we ended. Cohort 11-1 2 3 4 5. So this is our passcode. If I put 6 here, what do you think will happen? It's not going to give me access because I have up to 6 letters here and I've handled that already. You are not welcome to class. That's because I've handled it here to say, and that second part of it, which is this second part, dot length is this. I've made sure that the length is 5, and this same second part, remember, is none means is none. This means is not a number. I think I should comment this again and explain how that knot of a thing works. So let me undo. Okay, now this still where we ended before. Let me write mayor. Now mayor is not a number. Now if not, once I use not in front of anything, if it's true, it's going to turn to false. Now is nan name, is nan mayor, is it true or false? Is nan mayor, because name now is mayor from here. Is it true or false? Can somebody unmute? I want it to be interactive to make sure. Okay, it's nan mayor. True. It's nan mayor. It's true. Now, if I use not here, this exclamation mark, that is just it. It's going to make it false.
Yeah.
It makes it false. So, if this was supposed to be true for this to be executed, normally, because if I remove this, this will be true to say it's not a number mayor. That mayor is not a number. It will be true. That means they'll tell me this statement. Now, if I do a not, it's going to say, it's going to swap it. This now will now become false. And if it's false, it's going to execute the else condition. It's not going to do this one again, because this executes only when the condition is true. So I've used none now. It's going to swap the condition. It's going to flip it. If the condition executes to true, it's going to make it false by using this none. If it executes to false, it's going to make it true. Now, let me give you another example. Let x equal to 5 and let y equal to 5. Now, I want to say if x equal to y, console.log x is equal to y, else you should just tell me x is not equal to y. Else you just tell me console x is not equal to y. I don't want an else if. Okay, I think this is very basic for us to understand. So I have two variables x and y, they are all 5. If x is equal to y, it will print for me console.log, you print this for me, x is equal to y. Else it will print for me this. Now I want to say if x is equal to not y, or how do I put it? I want to, okay, let me use if x is not equal to, if x is not equal to y, you can actually do like this too. So it's still going to compare type. If x is not equal to y, you should do this. Now you understand that this statement will change because x is not equal to y. That if x is not equal to y, you should do x is not equal to y. That means this statement now will come here. Why this statement will come here? So we have swapped it. If x is not equal to y, what should happen? It's not going to tell us x is equal to y again. It should tell us instead this statement. So we are going to reverse this, control x and put here, and this now will be x is equal to y, because it's going to work for the else condition. So I believe this is, we don't need to run this on the console. It's self-explicit. The x is equal to y because of I use not here and I swapped this to console.log. So now you can see what's printing here. X is not equal to y. But if you check my browser, it has jumped that one and it's now printing the second case, which is x is equal to y. So That is how not works. I was trying to show us how you can utilize not. Okay, so that's why we use this not here. Not swaps it. It's none this. Let me take this call. Wait, let me take a short call. Pakachi? Hello? 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 Ma, I'll call you back. I record to class.
Presido,
I don't see him.
can I say something with your permission?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Before the class starts. Okay, end the call.
I don't know if
Okay,
I'm the
yes,
only
say,
one.
go on.
No, go ahead. Let's finish the class.
Okay. So
Okay, Mr. Mayor, please hold on.
okay.
I noticed before a couple of persons had their hands
Okay.
up. Blessing. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, even me, I have question.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, how do you prefer it?
I
Question
prefer the
now
question.
or
Even if we don't continue here, we can still continue another time. But it's good everybody understands where we are
okay.
and where we are going to.
Okay, so please, colleagues, as as the teaching is going on, if you have questions, just raise your hand. Then we'll find time to call people one after the other.
Okay, I have a
Okay,
question.
Mr. Sa. Okay, who is speaking?
Blessing.
Blessing
Blessing.
on the line.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Terence, the pop-up that is coming now, I don't understand how you got that where you are putting the passcode. I thought that was supposed to be like an alert.
No, okay. It's just like an alert. Let me see if my voice is there.
Yes.
It's just like an alert. Now with alert, how do you get alert? Well,
I put an alert. I
let's
didn't put
simplify it so
anything like
that
alert.
the way you get alert is alert, and we put the
Yes.
text to show, right? Text
Yes.
to show. Save on screen. Save. Now if I go to my stuff, this is it. Text to show on screen. Now the way we get that prompt is by using prompt here. As simple as that. Prompt, then text to show. If you say text to show, it's going to show text to show before the box where the user is going to input. So it's good to make this message look friendly, like input your value or anything. You understand? Just like a description tool. That's all. So if I save and go back here, it's saving. Okay, let me finish this one first and save. Okay, now you see, input your value. It's telling you prompt. So once you input a value here and take OK, it's always good that this prompt is assigned to a variable, maybe const user input, such that if you put your value and take OK, the value that you have entered, which is the prompt, will now be assigned to user input. So you can now say maybe document dot write user input and save. So if I input something here now, maybe small e and OK, you see document dot write takes you to my browser. So that's how prompt works. So
Okay. Why did you use cost? Why didn't you use let this or
Okay.
function this?
Now you see this value now, this value that the user will input,
Yeah.
and I'm saving to somewhere. Let me not talk about the console. I'm saving to somewhere. This value will never change. there will not be a time I'll come and say, maybe while the program is still running, I'll come and say, maybe user input. Here we have console.log user input, right? And it gave us what we put on the browser. Then I come here and say user input equal to maybe 5. You understand? Now I'm giving what the user inputted before is what we call user input. Now I'm giving user input again as 5. That means I'm reassigning it. So if I save this and go to our browser, and let me see if this is a good example. See, it's giving me error. Why is it giving me error? Because I declared that thing before as const. Look at it. Assignment to constant variable. This is a constant variable, const. I've declared it as const before. And I'm still coming to say 5 should be assigned to user input again, whereas I've said that input the user will put on the browser should be assigned to user input, and it's a constant variable. That means when it gotten that value, the value should not change. The value will not change. If I now use this as let or var and save, my code will run normally, google.com, because this will be assigned to user input. Then after this, the 5 will now be assigned to user input. So if I come under my code now and print console.log user input, and maybe I save, look at the code very well. So this value and this value are two different things. Here I've gotten user input and I've given it to this variable, which I will now display on my screen using console.write. After displaying, I will now say 5 should now replace user input. That's the variable user input should now hold 5. It should not hold that thing I entered on my browser again. Since it's now holding 5, it should now display on my console. So if I don't want to change this, let me leave it like so that you see the two distinct values. So now I enter something, maybe I hope you can all see my screen. I know it's small, but just try. Once I take OK, it's going to print this, and because the computer is too fast that you may not even notice, after printing this, which is what is in this variable user input, after printing it, the computer is now going to say, okay, now 5 should be assigned to user input, and now it prints it again to the console. So that's why it prints 5. You don't see the delay between writing this and later writing this. Now let me make you understand properly. It's good we always understand so that we'll not make mistakes. After printing this to the screen, we have to do something. Let's do function. I want to call it delay. This is an asynchronous function. This function, I can say, don't look at this function. I just want to put a delay here intentionally so that you see what happens in our code. Function, it's an asynchronous function, so it does input this. I hope you know this is an arrow function. We'll learn about asynchronous function. Let me put like 7 seconds so that no, let me 5 seconds, and it's going to say console dot log x, no, okay, user input will be changing due to new assignment. Okay, that's fine. This should be set timeout, set timeout. Okay, I think this is okay. Okay, let's see what happens. Now I enter something, maybe google.com, and I take okay. I set timeout is, I need to do this so that we really understand. Let me see something. Set time. Okay, I think I did not spell it well. Let me see. Okay, it's spelled. Let me set time out.
You miss E for your timeout.
Okay. Set okay. Okay, let me see what's happening again. Okay. I'm going to, let me close this. I'm going to enter something google.com and take this. Okay, now let me call the set timeout. Wait, let me make sure the syntax is okay. Okay, I think I was not getting the syntax. I wanted to use a delay. Yeah, I want to use a delay. Let me get the set timer from here. Let me just get the set timer from here. Okay, const timeout equal to set timeout function and this. Okay, so now let's forget about this code, this and up to this part. Let's not look at it. This is just a delay. It's just a delay. Just a delay. Okay, let me see if it's going to work as we wanted. Okay, let me input this and okay. Well, we can come to that one next time. The set timeout is, I've forgotten how to use it and I don't want to waste our time here. But what I'm trying to say is, if we just put a delay here in between this and this, such that the computer will notice the delay. You know, the computer is very fast, but if you put a delay here like 5 seconds, it's going to wait for 5 seconds before printing this, because our script, JavaScript, runs line by line. After this, it's going to execute that function, which is 5 seconds, whereas it has printed this on the screen. Then now the variable will now change to 5. So that's what I was trying to drive at. So I think we have answered Blessing's question. Somebody's hand was up. Another person.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The command when you were giving, can you come down a little bit? Let me see what you.
Let me uncomment it.
the command for the cohort password that you're giving, is this case sensitive?
What's that?
The command for the cohort passcode.
Now, we've not implemented case.
Is it case sensitive? Maybe assuming I'm typing, I decide to use uppercase for the C and the H, while the remaining
It's case
ones
sensitive.
are.
It's
It's
case
case
sensitive.
sensitive.
Yeah, we can handle that. We can handle that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I noticed the command for the not a number. That one too. The two N and the A. I have to make use of case. The case sensitive is also applied there.
Yes, yes. It's not our function. It's JavaScript's function, so you have to write it as it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
I have my
Uh,
question.
Okay.
okay.
Line 14. I noticed in your condition you stated that the first element should include cohort.
Yes.
So from what I'm seeing, if somebody writes the cohort without the cohort number, obviously it will go
It will go for now.
from the
We
condition.
are still working on it. The next if
Okay,
condition
okay, okay,
is to check if the cohort
okay,
number is there, and the cohort number must be between cohort 11 and cohort 31.
okay. All right.
Okay. So any other one, or should I go ahead?
You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to know if this is being recorded.
I'm recording it.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me go ahead. Now, before we get this statement, you are welcome to class. That means all these conditions have been passed, right? Now, we want a situation that even though all these conditions have been passed, there's still a few more conditions to check. And that condition should be what the lady just mentioned now. If we have a number here after cohort, a number before this, because if you check our code now, we enter cohort, maybe I put X here, dash 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, you are welcome. It's welcoming us, whereas I put an X. It's welcoming us. Cohort, I put dash dash. No, let me not use that dash because we have already handled the dash. Cohort 3. We don't have cohort 3. Then let me just put 4 or 6 numbers here. It's not going to welcome us because I put 6 numbers there. You are not welcome. Now, cohort, maybe I put cohort 3. We don't have cohort 3 dash 1 2 3 4 5. 5 numbers. It's still going to welcome us. Why? But we don't have cohort 3. So let's find a way to handle it such that the program will say, okay, when the user has entered, I'll first of all check if he has cohort at the beginning, fine. Then after the cohort, what follows it? Is it a number? Is it a letter? Or is it a valid cohort number? So that's what we are going to check now. So when all these conditions match, when it's supposed to tell us you are welcome, no, it shouldn't tell us you are welcome first. It shouldn't tell us you are welcome yet. It should not tell us you are welcome. It should also check something for us. I want to comment this because we don't want it to tell us you are welcome yet. It should also check something for us. And what is it checking? It should check this number. Now, before we just check that number, let's declare 2 variables, the minimum cohort and the maximum cohort. We have they are constant because it's not going to change. The minimum cohort is cohort 11. It's not going to change for any time except we want to change it. mean const, what do I call it, first cohort, first cohort equal to let me use 11, and last cohort const last cohort equal to cohort. As I like to 13, that bring it to 30 to me, so 31. So this is the first cohort we have in the system, and this is the last cohort we have in the system. Now, if all these conditions are true, which is supposed to tell us you are welcome. No, it should not tell us yet. There's something we want to check again. We want to check this number. So how do we now get this number? How do we now get this number? It's either, there are so many methods you can use. You can either check if this is an array. You can use this as an array because it's a string, so strings are also arrays. This is the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can check the index 6 and 7 if they are numbers, or you can get the two of them, combine them together, and see if it belongs to between this and this. So there's several ways you can use it. So you can use there several ways, but I would like to just use this method so that we learn how to use array methods, not to stress ourselves. We just use array methods not to stress ourselves. So I can just declare a variable const, let me just say is OTS. I'm using is OTS to say is obedient text space, because normally we have found that it has cohorts in it. The password has cohorts in it. We want to check this now. So if it has cohort, let's just assume it's OTS, because it has cohort and this one too has passed from this condition. It's true, and it also has cohort in it from here. So all this has passed. We assume it's OTS. I just gave it, it's a variable. You can give it any name. So it's OTS, and now this is OTS. Now we are going to remember we have this. After doing the array dot split, we have this and this and this. This is still our array with index 0. This is still our array with index 0. Let's not forget. So we are going to get that array with index 0. So that array with index 0 is this cohort pass code 0. So this is this array from here. So this is it, called password 0. Then dot replace is trying to say replace something in this array. You know, a string is an array. A string is, you can use it as an array. It's not an array, but you can use it as an array. The way you are using arrays, if array has several elements, normally as an array should have an element. Let's say const cohort 11, and the members of cohort 11 are, we have Mayor, we have Francis, and we have maybe OC. We have OC. Array elements, if they are not okay, I have some good values here. Okay, this should end in a quote. That's why it's giving me that. Okay, these are array elements. A string, just assume all these things are commented. I'm trying to teach why doing the project. A string is like an array element. I can come here and say const name, or let me say member equal to mayor. Now you see this string, anything you can do to this array, most things, let me not say anything, but so far as I know, or everything you can do to this array, you can also do it to this. If you say this is the first element of this array, in this string, this is the first element. So console.log here, console.log of, let's say, cohort 11 0 as the first element is 0, will give us mayor. Now console.log of member 0 will give us m. So member 1 will give us this, member 2 will give us this, member 3 will give us this, member 4 will give us this. So this is the same. Member 0 will give us this, member 1 will give us this, 2, 3, and so on. So anything you can do to array, most of them you can also do to string. So just see them as array if you want to do your operations on them.
I wanted to see it in your browser, now you deleted it.
What am I doing? Okay, I want to see it in my browser. Okay.
Yeah, same here too.
Okay. Let me refresh this page. Okay, you can see it. So this is for the first one that has arrays. This one now. So I'm doing cohort 11. This is called 11, which is array name in quotes, in square bracket 0, which is the first. So if I use Chijioke, if I want to see Chijioke, I'll use the last. So to get the last, if you have thousands of elements, you don't know the last. How do you get the last? It's cohort, you get the array dot length -1. -1 is because when you say array dot length -1, I have to talk about this very well because you use it. Array dot length. What is array dot length? Array dot length means the number of elements in this array. 1, 2. Okay, now assuming there are 10 elements in this array. Assuming there are 10 elements in this array. How do I access the 10th element? Can somebody unmute their mic and say something? If there are 10 elements in this array, remember the first element will start from index 0. So how do I access the 10th element? It's 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if there are n elements in an array, or there are x elements, you don't know the number. Let's just say it's an x element. To access the last element or in that array is x -1. You have to come down one more because you start counting from 0. That's why I say the array length, which is 10, let's assume it's 10, I've not counted it, -1 will give us 9. So it's going to give us the last element of that array. So that's why you always see the array dot length -1. They are trying to get the last element of that array. So if you do -2 now, it's going to give you this. So let me count first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, there are 10. So the array dot, I'm using this as array because it's an array, but called 11 dot length. Normally called 11 dot length is 10. I've counted it. You can see it's 10 -2. That means it's 8. It will resolve to 8 here. And if you save this, it's going to give you Chigozie. This is it. But now, why you cannot just write 8 here is because sometimes you don't know the number of number of elements you have in an array. If you have 1 million and you don't know you have 1 million, then how will you know? You just come here and say maybe 999 to give you the last element. You don't know. So it's good to just say the array length, which will give you the number of elements in the array -1 to give you the last one. If you want to get this one -2, you want to get this one -3, you can start from there and come back. Same thing with this one. If you want to get the last one, you can say member dot length minus 1, and it's still going to give you r. This is it, r. As I say, strings also behave like, see, like arrays. So I believe I can clean it now. Let's continue with our stuff. I'm going to uncomment this. So we gave this to say, okay, constant, we have the first cohort should be this and last cohort should be this. Now we are here. This is just a variable. I'm just calling it constant because I don't think I'll be overwriting it. You understand? I will not be overwriting it, so it's constant. You can use let. Now, why you use constant is it sometimes it makes your code safe. If somebody wants to overwrite it, oh, you'll alert you know you are not supposed to overwrite this thing. No, you understand? Especially things that you know you are not supposed to overwrite. You use const so that if your code wants to overwrite it at any point, maybe you've made an error, you want to overwrite it, it will tell you, oh, this is a constant, you're not supposed to overwrite it. So now we are saying this is OTS will be cohort passcode 0 dot replace what? Dot replace what? This is an array method. It's good to learn this array method. Dot replace cohort. I want to replace cohort with what? Empty string. Remember, look at this. I'm not putting a space here. There's nothing there. I'm not putting a space there. I'm not putting a space. If you put a space here, that means you want to replace cohort with a space. And now, assuming I have something like this, cohort 11 from the user input, maybe cohort 11 minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the user input. I've divided it into two using dot split minus to say divide into two. The first part will be given to, when it divides into two, automatically the first part is the array 0, the second part is the array 1. Why I always use arrays, I may not always remember the name of the array, but if I say array this, you know it is an array. So the first part will be given to array 0, which is the third part. Second part will be given to this array. This part now will be given to array 1. Now this is the first part, which is array 0 dot replace cohort. So we are dealing with the first part, which is this dot replace cohort. That means this cohort will be replaced with what? Empty string. If I say dot replace cohort, maybe I write mayor here, and I come here and say console.log OTS and save. Sometimes if I save, it just takes me to my browser as if I want to run. Now if I replace this with mayor, look at this, I'm replacing it with mayor. My output on this console.log will be mayor 11 because I'm replacing this from the user input, something like this. I don't know what the user will input, but yeah, I'm assuming if the user input something containing cohort, it's going to replace that cohort with mayor. So it's replacing cohort with mayor because this on its own is the first part of the user's input as we have streamed it and we have splitted it. Then dot replace, you run it on an object on the array. Dot replace what? Cohort with mayor. So if we try to run this on our browser, let me enter cohort, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 dash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I intentionally entered this 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be bigger than something we normally see. Now you can see mayor. I did not spell mayor where when I corrected it, I did not save. You can see mayor 1, 2, 3, 4. It has automatically replaced this part of it, replace the cohort for me with mayor. I did not spell mayor well, and you can see this is too much, too much, or too many, I don't know. Now let's come back here. I'm going to replace it with what? Nothing. And save. If I have cohort 1 2 3 dash 5 numbers there, and okay, so you can see this is the result. It has removed cohort and it did not replace it with anything, so it's now giving me this number. So you can see. I hope it's well understood. It has given me this. Now I can remove this. I don't want to consult or log it again. I still have this. Remember, when it replaces cohort with 0 with this, it gives me the number remaining, and the number will be given to is OTS. Now let me see, is this OTS? Is it a number or is it a string? Let me say console.log is OTS. Type of is OTS. I want to know if it's a number or it's a string. Cohort 12, no, cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5. Enter. String. See what it's telling me? It's a string. That means after removing this and replacing it with, you can use several methods to remove this. You know, we used array.splice before to remove elements. You can use array.splice to remove every element from 1 up till, that's from 1, then you count 1 2 3 4 5 6. That means you can use array.splice here. You can see, come here, dot splice, and you remove from index 0, comma, you remove 6 elements. Why 6 elements? Because cohort has 1 2 3 4 5 6, so we are removing everything. So if we do this and save, hopefully it's still going to give us the same output. Cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, it's giving us an element encode. Okay, this is not a function. I'm supposed to be running it on a function, but if you get an array now, you just bring an array now and put the array here, it's going to automatically remove this for you. I'm going to remove it in this way. You can come to this later, but let's not deviate. Control S. Let me check my code one more time. Cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, it's telling us that thing remaining. This thing now, this 11 now is going to be a string because it has replaced this with nothing. In other words, that's just remove cohort. So the 11 remaining is a string. Now we can now, I don't like to work with strings, especially when I want to do things, calculations or numbers, you understand. So let me remove this console.log because it was just telling us that this thing is a string. Now I want to convert this string. We now know it's a string. I want to convert it to an integer. I want to convert it to an integer. So I can come here and say const cohort. I'm creating a variable number. Now I'm calling it cohort number because I actually know it's the cohort number. Pass int OTS. Pass int is a way to convert anything to an integer. Integer is a number. Sometimes you can put number here, so you can write number in caps, but I want to use integer. You can put number here in caps, like this, in caps, just the n will be caps like this. You become a number. So if somebody's calling me, I have to decline this call. So if I come here and do maybe cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5 and okay, I did not console.log it. I wanted to console.log. That is going to give me a number. Console.log this, and if I run it, I'm going to now see cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so it's giving me, what am I console.logging? Type of there is just going to console.log the number for me, but now I need the type of cohort 11 dash 1 2 3 4 5. No, never mind, I'll just enter 1 2 3 4 5. It's easier. So it's telling us it's a number. That's because we use number. Remember, this is a string. We tested it before. Now we say const cohort number, which is a new variable we're getting. We store this OTS, which is a string, but the one we have converted to number. But sometimes I feel like number is just somehow pass into just like as if I'm learning how to code. I like to use things that will make it difficult. So when somebody sees it, they'll say, "Oh, this guy knows what he's doing." So if I can't, it's because I can't. So that's why I'm saying this. But so I've converted it to number. Don't forget, if you want to convert it to float, you use pass float. If you want to convert it to string, you can use to string. So all these things are methods, string methods. So if we have converted it to a number, we have to do a comparison now to check if this number, remember we converted it to number, and now this is the number we have converted it to. We have to check if this number lies between this and this. Inclusive means it should also, if it is 11, it's fine. If it is 31, it's fine, and anything in between. So we have to check if that number lies between those two things. If it does, then we are good to go. So I can say if, I don't want to be using this thing, if cohort number, this cohort number we are seeing here, forget about this thing, so we have suggestions here. Somebody's calling me. Stop. If cohort number, remember we are comparing, is greater than, equal, we don't know what the cohort number is. We don't know what the number we'll get is. Greater than equal to this first cohort. That's if your cohort number is between 11, is either 11 or greater than 11 up to anything less than 31 or 31, then you are good to go. If cohort number is greater than equal to first number, first number, and the first number we defined it as first cohort, which is 11. You can decide to just put 11 here, but sometimes if you use first number so many times in your code, what you need to do, if you want to change it, maybe there's no cohort 11 again, you can just come here and put 12, and it will apply to all the first numbers. But if you start using 11 before you change it, you make errors. Cohort, that's if that number, this number we have gotten now from what the user inputted, this number is greater than or equal to first number, and remember, it must satisfy the two. It must certify that it's greater than equal to, and it is less than or equal to 31, because that's the highest cohort. So this is the and that same cohort number. Remember, this cohort number is what we have converted to string. Is less than or equal to what? Last cohort. You can see the last cohort here, which is 31. You can decide to just use 31 here, but like I said, if you use 31 anywhere, you are using 31 when you are referring to the last cohort. If you need to change your code, you need to go and change all the 31s in your code. So it's better you just come here and declare your variable up here as cohort, as last cohort, and then use it here. So if this applies, if this cohort number is between this range, as we have stated, you can print for us, you are welcome, or maybe it should print for us, you are welcome, you're welcome, your passcode is entirely, why I'm using entirely correct is there are times where you have to tell us, this part of the passcode is not correct. So if I use entirely correct now, we will know when everything is correct. Pass is entirely correct. Else, remember, there should be an else when all these things now we have said, all these things up here do not apply. I close this, and there should be an else statement. Else statement runs when your conditions do not apply. So I can use console.log, you are not welcome to this class. Your passcode is, I don't want to use entirely here. This section of the code now is, can use, maybe please enter a valid cohort number. Let me use something so that we can see some. Please enter a valid cohort number. Remember, this if condition checks that number in our cohort 11. It checks that number. That's why, still in that loop, if this doesn't match the condition, the else of it, if it doesn't match, which will now comes to else, you will now say please enter a valid cohort. For example, cohort 11. Let me leave it like this. Enter a valid cohort. For example, cohort 11 dash star 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 star, because we are focusing on this 11 at this point inside this block of code. We are focusing on this. We are focusing on this inside this block of code. Now, look at this. We have an if condition here. If this matches, you should do this. You should do all of this. That's what we did. If this condition matches, you do all of this, right? You should do all of this. I want to shift this. Let me indent it a little. If this matches, you should do all of this in this block of code. So where is this block of codes ending now? Ending here. So matching brackets, look at it. If this matches, you should do a block of code, which is this. Now inside this block of code, we have other conditions, sub conditions that it needs to check. When these ones have matched, that's not the final case. It still needs to check one or two things. Permit me, I'll stop this recording now and continue again, because if I continue the full length, if I record the full length, it may not be able to render. So I stop it.